Hello everyone, I am Casey the Gamer, and it's time for another game review. This time we're going on another treasure hunting adventure with Scrooge McDuck in DuckTales 2 for the NES. DuckTales 2 was developed by Make Software and published by Capcom. DuckTales 2 was released on April 23, 1993 in Japan, and in June 1993 in North America. As I mentioned in my review for the original DuckTales, I never knew there was a sequel, but I was very excited to check it out. And it's a really good time. So let's see what kind of trouble Scrooge gets in this time as we dive into DuckTales 2. The story for DuckTales 2 is relatively simple, much like the last one and most NES games. Either way, there are spoilers ahead for the story of the game. The story opens up with Huey telling Scrooge McDuck that they found a piece of a treasure map that says the secret treasure of McDuck on it. Huey thinks that great-great-uncle Fergus must have ripped the map into pieces and hidden them all over the world. Scrooge thinks that Huey is right and is excited to go on another adventure. Scrooge's adventure leads him all over the world to find the pieces of the map. Places like Niagara Falls, a pirate ship in the Bermuda Triangle, Mu or Mew, however it's pronounced, I'm not quite sure, Egypt, and Scotland. And at each of these locations, in addition to a piece of the map, Scrooge also gets a treasure from each one after defeating the enemies there. The enemies include a fire spirit, a pirate, a rock monster of sorts, some Egyptian duck, I guess, and a sorcerer. After defeating all of the bosses and obtaining the treasures as well as all of the map pieces and the secret treasure of McDuck, Webby gets kidnapped by Flintheart Glomgold. Glomgold tells Scrooge to meet him at his ship with all of the treasure if he wants Webby back. Scrooge meets Glomgold and gives him the treasure. Glomgold then wants to show something to Scrooge and transforms into the D-1000, an obvious reference to the T-1000 from Terminator 2. 100% obvious. Totally 100%. And I admit that I didn't even realize it the first time I played it, even though I should have with as many times as I have seen Terminator 2. Anyway, Scrooge defeats the D-1000, and the real Glomgold can't believe it, and like the sore loser that he is, decides to sink the ship with all of the treasure on board. Webby runs to Scrooge, and they escape as the ship sinks. The kids are all bummed out that the treasure sank, and Scrooge is too, but he says that at least they have each other, and that true friendship is all you really need. Then they point out that the treasure is actually safe. Launchpad managed to snag it with his plane, and then Scrooge reveals he also still has the secret McDuck treasure hidden under his hat. There's also other endings that you can get. Like in the first game, there's an ending you can get by beating the game without having any money. And then the other ending is if you don't get all of the map pieces, and then you don't find the secret treasure. DuckTales 2 features more of the same gameplay from the first game, just with some new stuff. New stuff that I really love. DuckTales 2 is still a great 2D platforming adventure. You can still run, jump, pogo with your cane, and hit things with your cane, all while collecting treasure. DuckTales 2 features some new mechanics. Scrooge is able to interact with objects in the stages, which is fantastic. Scrooge can use his cane to pull levers or fire cannons and various other things. Scrooge can also hang from hooks in the walls with his cane, which is great. In addition to that, there are upgrades that Scrooge can obtain for his cane, which I absolutely love. When you run into Gyro Gearloose in the stages, he will give you one of the upgrades for your cane. The iron adapter lets Scrooge break things that he couldn't before with a pogo jump. The hammer adapter allows Scrooge to break things with the golf swing of his cane that he couldn't break before. And finally, the power adapter lets Scrooge pull things with his cane, either to move them out of the way or move them into position to be used as a platform. In addition to Gyro Gearloose, you can run into other characters in the stages as well. Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Webby will give you hints on where you're supposed to go, or about secrets, like in the last game. And also like in the last game, Launchpad will take you out of the stage so you can bank your money. Bubba Duck also makes an appearance to save Scrooge from being trapped after obtaining one of the map pieces. Another new feature in DuckTales 2 that I absolutely love is the item shop. You visit the item shop in between stages and you can buy things like health upgrades, extra lives, continues, healing items, and more. And also, one of the map pieces is located in the item shop. And while you can buy healing items, you are still able to find them during the stages as well. DuckTales 2 features 5 incredibly fun stages, and like in the first game, you can play them in any order you want. First up for me is Niagara Falls, which sees Scrooge fight all kinds of enemies while platforming over several watery areas before coming face to face with the Fire Spirit. This is also where you obtain the Iron Adapter. The next stage is the pirate ship in the Bermuda Triangle and has more platforming goodness while dealing with some crabs, pirates, and eventually their captain as the boss of the stage. Scrooge also obtains the hammer adapter here. After that, I went to the Moo or Mew stage for even more platforming while fighting more crabs. They followed us. Living statues, and the rock monster at the end. Scrooge gets the final cane upgrade here, the power adapter. Next up is the Egypt stage, and this one probably took me the longest. It's a bit of a maze, but really I was just completely overlooking where I needed to go. While you're here, you'll encounter snakes, some sarcophagus enemies, giant bugs, and eventually the Egyptian duck boss. And the final stage is a castle in Scotland. And to the surprise of no one, there is more platforming. And there's a lot of bottomless pits and spikes in this stage as well. To be fair though, there's bottomless pits in most of the stages. While in Scotland, you'll be dealing with floating hands holding lanterns, knights, and then the sorcerer as the boss. So there are 7 map pieces in total. The one you start with, the one you can buy from the item shop, and then the remaining 5 are found in the stages. You'll need to get the upgrades for your cane, and find hidden walls or complete various puzzles in order to get all of them. Once you get the final map piece, you play another stage that is like the Scotland stage, because it's in the basement of the castle. Once you get to the end of it, you fight another sorcerer with some different tricks than the other one. Once he's defeated, the McDuck treasure is yours. If you miss a map piece because you couldn't find it, or you didn't have the right upgrade at the time, or you couldn't figure out the puzzle, you can thankfully revisit stages. However, you need to get them all before completing your 5th stage, because once the 5th stage is done, you are locked into the finale. Speaking of the finale, after you beat the 5th stage, Flintheart Glomgold kidnaps Webby, and you have to go after him. You track him down and have a battle with the Liquid Metal D1000 as the final boss. Once he's defeated, Glomgold sinks the ship and the treasure with it. But luckily, Launchpad managed to snag the treasure. And if you got all of the map pieces, you also still have the McDuck treasure. There's also 3 difficulty modes in DuckTales 2, just like in the first. There's easy, normal, and difficult. The difficulty doesn't impact your ending at all, so play whatever difficulty is most fun for you. DuckTales 2 is an incredibly fun game, just like the first one. I had a great time with this game. I loved all of the new additions and improvements made from the first game. DuckTales 2 once again features incredible 8-bit pixel art graphics. All of the character sprites look great, and the backgrounds are incredibly detailed and look fantastic. The sound effects are all pretty much the same as in the last game, and they all sound great. Another example of, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And like the first game, the soundtrack is amazing. All of the tracks in this game are really good and fit the stages wonderfully. That being said, to me, none of the songs in this game are anywhere near as iconic as the Moon theme from the first game. But the music is still so good. So I really loved DuckTales 2. It took what was great about the first game and expanded upon it. As someone who didn't even know the game existed until I was doing research for the first game's review, I didn't know what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised by this game. I loved all of the new stuff that it added. It made for a really great time. And honestly, I have to say I enjoyed this game more than the first one. So if you enjoyed the first game and you want another great platforming treasure hunt with Scrooge McDuck, I say give DuckTales 2 a shot. I would have loved to have seen a third game, maybe on the Super Nintendo, but sadly that never happened. I will tackle the remake of the first game eventually, and maybe even check out the Game Boy versions of both games. We'll see. Thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And if you want to see more of me, you can catch me streaming all kinds of stuff over on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/CaseyTheGamer91. And I also have a Patreon where you can get perks like early video access and some other cool stuff. And that is patreon.com/CaseyTheGamer91. And you can find both of those links and all of my other links in the description below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to catch you next time. Peace out.